A little more information on the Delco plant here. This was produced back in the early, mid, and late 30s. And back then, towns and cities had their own power, but the rural areas did not. So Delco Corporation, which later became part of General Motors, built these little light plants, and they were usually put somewhere in the house, out of the way, usually in a basement. And they're 32 volts, so they provided rural power. And farmers would use them. They'd string wire out to the barn, and they'd also wire the house for 32 volts. And these, way I understand it, some of the better to do farmers, you know, the guys with a little more money than average, started getting these things. And so what they required was a bank of 16 batteries or 16 cells, and they were a glass cell, like in a glass jar, and they were rebuildable. You could put new lead plates in them and change the electrolyte in them and make them last. And whenever you would demand power, like turn a light on or something, this unit would start automatically. That bank of batteries would also crank this. It would go into the generator would switch over to a motor mode and crank the engine, and it had automatic solenoids on it that would choke it and turn the fuel on and throttle it and everything else. So they were pretty cool back then, and you were pretty well to do if you could afford to have one of these at your farm and have one of these installed. So this one, when I bought it, the fellow I bought it from said he bought it from an estate sale of an old farmer, and it was literally in the basement of the house. He saw the foundation where it was bolted to. They would usually build up a little bit of a concrete foundation and bolt this unit down to it and put the bank of batteries on the wall of the basement and wire it up. And they were in Fat City, man, because they had electricity. They could not have to use the old coal oil lanterns anymore and stuff like that at night. They could read by electric light, and it was really cool. And you know, I was born in '55, so what intrigues me with this stuff is, you know, this thing was sitting in that basement when I was born. It was probably already retired by that time, and sitting there, and it sat there all these years. I'm now 59, will be 60 this year, this video. And just to think all the years this thing sat there neglected, you know, of course it's stuck. Nobody ever went down and took the plug out and shot some oil in it, you know, to preserve it. They were done with it. That was it, you know. And people, farmers especially, a lot of farmers never threw anything away. They never cleaned anything out. And finally, you know, when their life was done, you know, somebody else was charged with the task of cleaning everything up, and they went in there and they took this whole unit out and had an auction and sold everything the old farmer had and dispersed everything, and they were done. And I come along at an engine show and see this thing and pick it up, buy it, and breathe new life into it. That's the cool part. That's the cool part. I just wish some of this old stuff could talk. I just wish it could tell its own story. It would be a fantastic story. But anyway, just wanted to let you know a little bit of history on the Delco light plant. The Delco Corporation and General Motors in general, man, you know, research it on the web, and it's quite a story, and they're still going strong. So good talking to you, and catch up with you later. I'll keep you posted on what's going on with the old light plant here.